Hey, welcome to another episode of the Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Controversy, and to my right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, none other than Mr.
Darren Love.
And together, we are the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in once again this week, guys. And yeah, without further ado, what is on the agenda for this week, mate? What is today's
Hot topic.
voila?
Yeah.
So what's today's hot topic, mate?
Well, I think we should talk about the future.
The future.
I think it's quite interesting to talk about, you know.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. So what are your thoughts and your ideas and your opinions, mate, on, you know, the future tense, you know?
Well, I think we're all lucky to have one. For one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think people should be grateful that we've got a future, you know.
Well, I hope to.
Well,
we do have a future, but I mean, you know...
when you're alive, you've always got a future, haven't you? But
exactly, yeah.
You might die, you know, sort of like, you know, tomorrow.
Really?
You know.
So we give thanks for life and we hope, we pray for the future kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
I mean, there is one thing we all kind of know about the future, isn't there? That we're all going to die.
That's inevitable.
Well, not necessarily all going to get old, are we? You
No.
know, because some people die young.
Yeah, very young.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so you don't really know when you're going to, you know, leave this planet, basically, if you see what I mean. So, yeah, I think the future's very interesting, you know, because I don't think we really, you know, it's something you got to think about, that's for sure, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
You
know?
do. Especially if you're someone that's got a lot of responsibilities and priorities and, you know, obligations and shit. Like me, I've got a wife and kids. So I'm thinking about my future. You know, life insurance, all these various different things that you can implement into your life, if you see what I mean, like, you know. And like you said, sometimes you have to think about the future. You know, like I've got a wife and kids, so God, you know, I pray to God every day for a long life. I hope for having a long, happy, prosperous, blessed life, you know. But I always say, God forbid something happen, I want to make sure that if, you know, when my time comes, when, you know, it's my time to kind of transform and move on to the next dimension or next realm of this existence, then my you know, my kids and my responsibilities that I'm leaving behind are okay, if you see what I mean. They're, you know, so in that sense, like I'm just giving a random example, but I'm just saying you have to think about the future, you know, it's important, you know, especially when you, like I said, when you've got, you know, responsibilities, you know.
I think it's important really to be wise each day, keep yourself safe each day, so you'll have a future, do you know what I mean? It's no good sort of getting run over or anything, is it?
Yeah, you got to stay safe.
You know, you've got to keep yourself safe really.
Take precautions and shit.
So you can have tomorrow basically, and another day.
Learn to walk away from situations and shit, you know.
Just,
swallow your pride.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, as I say, one thing I know, like I've said it in previous episodes, is the price of living's going up. So
oh yeah, astronomical, isn't it?
And I think like next year, in the future, you know, it's going to carry on going up and up and up and up and up, whatever, you know.
Seems like it, doesn't it?
You know, but I think like my future, you know, I'm like coming up to 60 really, you know, I think, you know, that, well, 3 years time I'll be 60. And I think, well, I'm going to be 80 in 23 years time.
Yeah.
90 in 33 years time, do you know what I mean? You know, it's a bit daunting really when you think about the future, when you're getting older,
yeah,
and you're decaying in every way, you know.
Yeah.
And you're not as young and, you know, as you used to be, which is the sad thing about life really, isn't it? You know, we're getting old, do you know what I mean? We're getting older and older.
Yeah.
And time goes quite quickly actually.
It does, yeah.
And I mean, I don't think time really has changed much in the last 2,000 years, apart from we've invented electric and we've got cars about, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
But I don't know if it's just me, but I won't go too far off topic, because, you know, but to me, if it feels at the moment, it feels like time is literally flying by. Like, literally, it feels like time is sped up. Yeah, honestly, I don't know if it's just me,
Yeah.
But for the last 2 years, some people even say, oh, it's because of the pandemic and all that stuff. I said, no, it's not because of the pandemic. Even during the pandemic, I was still working and I was still, you know what I mean, doing normal life activities, you know, apart from obviously a few restrictions here and there. But the last 2 years to me just seemed like the time is just...
How many years ago when that shutdown happened? Like 3 years ago, wasn't it? No. 3 years, I think.
When did it start? 2019. I think it was. End of 2019.
Yeah, so it's 23 now, do you know?
Yeah, so it's been what, 2 years? It has been 2 years, roughly.
Well, I think 3.
3.
I would say 3, you know.
Yeah.
We've gone through,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
At times does, you know, yeah, I think it is speeding up.
It feels like it, mate. Time's flying by. It's just, it's strange. Like, just even the other day, like I remember, like I can remember the beginning of the new year not long ago, and it's like we're almost in April now. If you see what I mean, it's.
But kind of way, the future is kind of like your place to explore in a funny way, you know, and you can try and change the future by what you do.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like say tomorrow, for instance, I might stay in.
Yeah.
But say I went out, and I might meet someone.
Yeah.
And that might change my whole direction, you know.
Of course, yeah. You just never know. It's the choices that we make.
Yeah.
The choices we make are what shape our future, you know? And the older you get, and the sooner you realise that, as a human being, the better your thought process will be, and the better your thinking will be. Because every time you make a decision, if you're thinking about what's going to happen in the future based on that decision that you've just made, if you see what I mean, whether it be consequences or whatever, then, you know what I mean, it gives you, you know, it tends to stop people from doing certain things, if you see what I mean, you know, because they think to themselves, you know what, this decision right here might not be beneficial for me in the next 2-3 years from now, if you see what I mean, you know, it might cause something to happen, you know, it might be detrimental to my career, it might be detrimental to my life, it might be detrimental to whatever, you know, so yeah, you know, I think thinking about the future definitely does help your decision making process, if you see what I mean, you know, just thinking things through before you do them. And like I had to learn this too. I didn't learn this till I was about, it wasn't till I started, when I came out to the UK really, because I started, just before I left the Caribbean, I was really like starting my kind of journey of transformation and spiritual journey and an awakening and all that kind of shit, ego death and all these kind of different things, and that started happening for me really when I first came back to the UK when I was about 19, when I fully started doing some soul searching and finding myself and, you know, just trying to figure out who I was as a person and, you know, what I was passionate about, what things that I loved. I was just trying to figure out who I was, basically, like most people at that time. But yeah, you know, it took me some time to learn that, you know, it wasn't until I got to about, you know, I think when I got to about 21, I fully understood that process of emotional intelligence and understanding that when I'm making decisions, you have to think about, you know, what comes after that, you know, not just, especially now, being, you know, like I said earlier, I've got responsibilities, so doing something illegal, like back when I was in my younger days, doing something illegal, you know, whatever it may have been during that time, I wasn't really thinking about what was going to happen next. I was just thinking about the money I'm going to make, or whatever the case may be, if you see what I mean, you know. Obviously being a grown man now and left all those things behind years ago, like even now I would never, the thought of reverting back to doing things that I used to do would never even go through my mind, if you see what I mean now. Because that thought in itself is like a toxic thought, if you see what I mean. Like, you know, why would you risk your freedom and lots of other things, you know what I mean, and lots of other ramifications, consequences coming behind that too, and then, you know, you can't be there to be a father to your kids, you know, and if you go away for a long time as well, the likelihood is that your wife or your girlfriend or, you know, whoever you've got children with or dealing with or whatever the case may be is going to leave you too. You know, that's the reality. Even if you're married and she says she's going to stay by you, you know, for 10 years, you guarantee for 10 years she's not going to. You can't expect someone to be faithful to you for 10 years while you're inside jail, inside of a prison cell, let's say, for example. You know, if you made a bad decision, you know, a wrong move, you know. So You know, someone else is going to be. Reality is that you might not want to hear it, but the reality is that some other man out there is going to be ploughing your missus. And that's just, you know, it sounds a bit, you know, a bit blunt and direct, but that's just the reality. Someone else will be ploughing your missus, and you never know. She might, you know, she might end up even, you know, he might end up becoming like a stepfather to your kids while you're locked up. You can't even raise your own kids. Someone else is raising your kids and ploughing your missus. So, no, I'm just being. Yeah, but I'm just saying that obviously we're on YouTube.
I've never heard that one before.
No, but because we're on YouTube, on YouTube, you know, we've got to say things a certain way and do, you know, and use certain like vernacular, but like.
I've never heard that one before. That's all.
Yeah, but
see, that's a new one.
You've got to think about these things. There's a lot of people that are still at a certain age doing certain things, taking certain risks that are not even really worth it, like in any way. Like they're not really benefiting in a great deal, you know what I mean, from it. You know what I mean? They might be getting by and, you know, having a little side hustle and living in it, you know. But sometimes the risk sometimes the risk outweighs the reward, as they say, you know. So like you said, you know, yeah, you've got to think about your future.
Well, I think the future is quite funny.
Yeah.
Funny thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's up to you, really. You know, like, you know, it's all to do with making the right choices, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, wisdom is as well.
Yeah.
You know, you make the right choices. You know, and each day you wake up, you're hungry, you make the right choices. You know, and really, it's always best to sort of eat the best food if you can. Do you know what I mean? You've got to think about yourself in the future. You know, and if you eat good food, you're going to feel good in the future as well, you know?
Yeah.
So, a race.
Sounds like it.
A race going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, it's like them having a race then, you know, one of them might come off suddenly.
Yeah.
You know?
And that'd be the end of it.
I mean, I've actually seen people come off motorbikes before.
You told me, yeah, that's awful.
It really is.
Yeah.
I won't go into it, you know, but it really has put me off. Motorbikes completely what I've seen, you know. I've seen 2 accidents.
Well, I was going to say, you saw one just...
I've seen 3, yeah.
You saw one just across the road there
a
few months ago,
yeah.
You know what I mean, so...
Yeah, but that wasn't a serious one, you know.
But
I mean,
he was still...
Let's put it this way, you know, I will tell you, the first motorbike accident I ever saw was this young guy, he was only 21, wow. And he was going to get married the next day. The next day? Yeah.
Wow.
And he went for a red light.
Ah, why?
And a coach was turning right.
Oh.
And he went right underneath it. And his head come off. I saw his head come off.
Really?
Right, and I witnessed that, do you know what I mean?
Awful.
And then kind of like, you think like, okay, you're having fun on your motorbike, but then suddenly, you know,
well,
especially in the dark,
I know,
you might hit a brick.
I know this might sound quite cruel, and I don't mean it to sound cruel in any way, you know what I mean? And rest in peace to that guy, and condolences to his family and all that kind of thing, no disrespect. But he went through a red light.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't focusing maybe, do you know what I mean? He might have been,
I know.
I mean, you know, it just takes 1 second,
no, I know,
doesn't it? He might have been looking at a friend, you know, I don't know, do you know what I mean?
I know, but the fact that he just,
you know,
I'd hate to know that he intentionally thought he'd get through, you know, he went through it thinking he would, you know, and then that happened, you know.
That's what I say, the future's a funny thing, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen. And, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't be speeding along in the dark on motorbikes, you know, because, you know, your future, you know, your future's at risk.
Yeah.
The whole of it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a little bit, you know, but it's up to you, you know, people, if they want to ride like that, you know, it's up to them, isn't it, at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? You know, each to their own, I say.
But there's a lot of people that end up getting killed off of motorbikes, though, to be honest, mate. There's a lot of motorbike accidents every year, mate. Like, a lot of people get killed on motorbikes, you know. Because obviously on a motorbike too, you're more likely to get killed too as well, because obviously you've got less protection.
Yeah, and people don't see you.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
That's another thing too, yeah.
That's number one actually. That's most motorbike accidents are caused by people hitting motorbikes because they didn't see them.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. Because they're so, you know, they're quite thin, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so I think they're a little bit too dangerous, you know, and it's a bit high risk, really, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But you know, you could be happily riding your motorbike, next minute you're gone.
Yeah.
And it might not be even your own fault, you know. It might be the somebody else, you know, that's just come off the road, you know. I just think it's a bit dangerous, you know. But like I say, each to their own.
Yeah, of course, yeah, each their own, you know.
You know.
Just be safe.
But I mean, we didn't even know that, you know, we'd hear those motorbikes.
No. Yeah.
You know, and like I say, you just don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
You don't really know what you're going to see next, either. Or,
yeah.
I mean, like tomorrow, I can choose where I want to go.
Yes, true. Yeah.
You know, you know, if you got to go to work tomorrow, you can't really, you know, you've got to go to work.
Yeah.
But you can choose not to go to work if you wanted to.
If you wanted to, yeah.
You can say, right, I'm not going in today, or you can say, right, I've had enough of this job, I want to buy something else, you know, do you know what I mean? You can change your future. You know, and as I've said previous episodes, or we've said, that some people get sort of like hooked into their job, like it's a family, you know, they get hooked with their friends and they don't want to leave their friends. And it kind of becomes their home, their second home, their workplace, you know, even though it's a terrible job.
Yeah.
You know, and they you know, to me, I want to be happy
of course,
in what I do, you know, I don't want to be doing something that it's not gonna, I don't know, like fulfill me or or give me more potential for the future, you know, a dead end job basically.
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. I agree with that, mate.
You know.
Well, sometimes like there's nothing wrong as well too with working yourself up from the bottom too, but like you got to be prepared to do that. Like you got to put in the graft. For some people that have to start at the bottom, you might not have left school with the most like qualifications. You might not have, you know. So sometimes people have to get like a dead end job. But what I think it's important to use that as a stepping stone. If you are in that position and you know you've got potential to do some good shit, to, you know you've got a plan or you've got some kind of goals or you know, and you can use it as a stepping stone, you know. But just don't try to stay stuck in that position for too long. If you see what I mean, you know, try to elevate. No matter what you do, try to be the best at it. So then, if you get recognition for being the best at whatever you're doing, then usually you end up getting a promotion in whatever you're doing in some way, shape or form, earning more money, being able to charge people more money for your services, whatever the case may be. So, you know, hard work usually is always beneficial in the long run. You know, people, you know, you put in enough work for a long enough period of time, people end up recognising, you know.
I think people's circumstances are a little bit different, you know, some people haven't even got a family, you know, so when they go to work, they start making a family at work, in a kind of way.
That's true too, yeah.
You know, there's like lots of different circumstances out there, do you know what I mean? You know, but I think like everybody should strive for a better future for themselves, you know, and you're not going to do it by just standing in the same place all the time in a kind of way, you know, you've got to move. And there's plenty of other family you can make and friends, you know, in the future, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
I just think you need to expand, that's all, you know, and I think the longest job I've ever had is 3 years, actually. No, I did removals, but again, that was sort of going, it was an outside job, do you know what I mean? It's not in the same place all the time. You know, I went different places.
Constantly moving around.
Yeah, you know, and I met different people, you know, and it was quite interesting, you know, not one day was the same. Apart from I had to do the same job, like move furniture.
Of course,
You see what I mean?
But it was always a different place, different people.
That's right, yeah, you know, so it was quite a good job, you know, it wasn't sort of in a factory, you know, putting nuts and bolts together all day.
Yeah.
You know, which some people have to do, you know. But like I wouldn't want to do that all my life, you know, do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous to do a sort of dead end job all your life and then retire and then die. You know, it's kind of no point to life, is there?
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean?
And it's sad that we've accepted it for so long. That human beings have accepted this status quo for so long. Start working at 18 or 21, sometimes even 16. Me, I started working at 15. I wasn't even turned 16 yet. I left school at 15 when I was working. So you trying to tell me you want me to work from 15 till I'm 67? Well, actually right now it's 67. So by the time I get to that point, it might be, even they might have put it up to like 70. You're trying to tell me I'm supposed to work...
Lots of rights.
You're trying to tell me I'm supposed to work from 15 to 70 years old, 5 days a week. Get 2 days off, and then when I retire, I might be lucky enough to live for 15, 20 years and enjoy my retirement and my pension.
Whilst you're walking up the shop,
while you're bloody decrepit and can't do shit.
Yeah.
And people have accepted this, it upsets me, mate, because people have accepted this as the status quo for too long, and I'm surprised that up until this point, you know what I mean, in recent history, that like obviously now a lot of people are aware of it and are fed up with it and are kind of rebelling against it. But I can't believe this has been for this long period of time that people have accepted this shit.
Well, at the moment, right, in France, there's lots of big riots going on.
But that's why, honestly, right, mate, that's why I respect the French too, in that way too, mate. Even like, obviously, you know, my wife's French, as you know. But I respect the French from that aspect, because as soon as they're not happy about something...
You know what they're rioting about now, don't you?
No, what are they always, mate, they're always rioting there,
yeah,
mate.
but it's huge, it's really big at the moment.
Yeah.
But what they've done is put the retirement age up.
Ah, okay.
So
yeah.
everyone's really kicked up about it.
But that's what I'm saying. So
they're throwing bombs at the police.
Yeah, petrol. But I don't blame them, mate. Because people. That's what I'm saying. We have now got to a point in society where people are fed up.
Yeah, too tired.
People are saying we are not doing this shit anymore. We refuse to be slaves.
It's inhumane, isn't it? Treating people with clocks.
Mate,
don't you think?
There's some people that can't even take a holiday.
Yeah, no.
They might be earning £1,500 a month now after tax. And living on their own. Not even got 2 incomes into the house. So then you can say you're okay, but we're just living on his own. All that money is accounted for.
Yeah.
He might be left with £100 to get through the rest of the month after he's done everything he needs to pay. Yeah. His food, his bills, his rent, everything. He might have £100–150 left for luxury, if he wants to. No holiday, no nothing. Can't go abroad, can't travel, can't even afford to go to Cornwall. Rent a cottage for the weekend.
But this travel thing, really, right? This travel thing, that people go on holidays and all that, it's quite a new thing, really. It's quite a modern thing. People never used to do it like, I mean, they did a little bit, right? Because they used to go on ships and that, yeah. But it's really expanded since airplanes, do you know what I mean? Invented.